we have no doubt that this agreement will be implemented. And so I'm very honored of the fact that Italy will serve in the Security Council in 2017, and Italy will cooperate with the Netherlands in the Security Council, with the Netherlands member of the Security Council in 2018. Thank you.
If a press statement is to be put out, will you check with the other country that's not on the council during in your year? Will you check with the Netherlands?
Well, the decision we take is rather original. So I think we will discuss and we will work on this. Two things are clear. The seat in the Security Council is for one nation, not for two nations. And the other thing clear is that we will cooperate together as good friends. Thank you. Grazie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gracias. Voy a hacer mi pregunta en inglés, si le conviene. On two issues that are in front of the Council, to get your thoughts. One is Western Sahara. Yeah. Venezuela, which is leaving the Council, has taken the lead in trying to make sure that the mission is returned, that there be a referendum. What's Bolivia's position on this long-standing conflict? And the other one is very specific. Ban Ki-moon put Saudi Arabia on the list of children in armed conflict for its bombing of Yemen, and then removed it, saying he was faced with the threat of removal of humanitarian funds. Do you think the Council should get involved? What do you think of a human rights system of the UN where those with money can buy their way off lists?
Thank you very much for your questions. What I think that's very important is that we just been elected. We are going to start a process in which we are going to get all the information that we require in all those issues. But be reassured that our position in any issue will be based on the principles of the Charter. Regarding the Western Sahara issue, we have stressed our position in the Decolonization Committee, in which Bolivia is a member from quite a long time, and we believe that all those issues should be solved according to related UN resolutions. Thank you very much. Thank you.
About sexual violence and conflict, I know that you were the special advisor. What do you think the Security Council should do, given the recent expose of sexual abuse and exploitation by peacekeepers in the Central African Republic and elsewhere? What can the Council do to provide guidance on this issue?
To make sure that every mandate, every review of mandates must take this into account. To never give in or accept sexual exploitation and abuse. And we have to be absolutely clear about that. I think we should follow the recommendations, some of the recommendations that have been made, and make sure that they are implemented. And that's the way forward. And we should encourage member states who are troop and police contributing countries to actually also follow up, to make sure that the perpetrators are pursued and put to justice.
Thank you. Now call on the International Lawyers Organization.
Vice President, the Vienna Declaration and Programme of Action was adopted under the auspice of the United Nations. It led to the creation of the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the focal points of human rights within the UN, and set the United Nations at the center of the global human rights movement. At times of today, many believe that the United Nations itself should set the example for the rest of the world. Too often, however, we have seen that this is not the case. It is with regret and concern that we must request the Council's attention for a matter of interference of the right to freedom of expression of a journalist at the UN in New York by the office of the UN most senior official. After covering the UN for more than a decade, on 19 February 2016, University Press was ordered to leave the UN premises on 2 hours' notice in a letter signed by UN Under Secretary General for Public Information. The official reason given was that the journalist covered a private meeting. This meeting was held in the UN press briefing room, to which all press is ordinarily allowed, and the journalist immediately left the room when asked to do so by UN security. Moreover, the apparent harassment of University Press appears to have commenced after it began covering a story concerning corruption linked to the office of the UN Secretary General. While the story has been widely covered, it was University Press that repeatedly asked pointed questions about it at UN press conferences given by the spokesperson of the Secretary General. The timing of the first expelling of the University Press journalist from the UN, then the closing of his office at the time the story was being covered, after more than a decade of covering the UN, at best seems suspicious and at worst a blatant interference with the human right to freedom of expression by a body who should know better and set a better example. We call on the High Commission for Human Rights, who is itself an Under-Secretary General, to inquire into this matter and to report the findings to this Council at its next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.